This is the story of a soldier, Mao's man, who outlived every purge, every madness. He watched the Cultural Revolution burn China and remained silent while others shouted. He never sought glory, but when Mao died, he struck with unexpected precision. Tonight, we open the case of Marshal Ye Jianying, the quiet man who ended Mao's nightmare. Born in 1897 in Guangdong, he grew up in a world of collapsing dynasties and foreign armies. Ye Jianying learned early that survival depended on discipline, not on noise. At 16, he entered military school, seeking order in a country drowning in chaos. He joined the communist movement in the 1920s, fighting warlords through dust and blood. Unlike others who shouted slogans, he spoke little, observed everything, and acted deliberately. During the Long March, he gained a reputation for being calm and precise under pressure. Historians called him a quiet professional, letting results speak for themselves. Mao Zedong certainly noticed him. He neither flattered, nor argued, nor threatened. In Mao's dangerous world, a quiet man was a valuable asset. After victory in 1949, Yi became one of the People's Liberation Army's 10 founding marshals. But he was different from the others. Peng Dehuai challenged Mao and was destroyed. Lin Biao rose too high and then died fleeing. He Long spoke too freely and vanished into prison. Yet Ye Jianying remained untouched. This was because he understood the unspoken rule of dictatorships. Don't stand too close to the sun. Don't stand too far from it. Simply stand still and wait. By the mid-1950s, his reputation was clear. Competent, loyal, and quiet. A man who didn't seize power, but also didn't lose it. The traits that doomed other revolutionaries kept Yi alive. He chased survival, not glory. By the mid-1950s, Mao Zedong began testing loyalty through purges. Gao Gang, Rao Shusher, Peng Dehuai, He Long were purged. Revolutionary giants fell the moment Mao sensed disagreement. But Ye Jianying survived each storm, not from trust, but practice. He mastered the art dictators respect, knowing when not to speak. At Lushan in 1959, Marshal Peng criticized the Great Leap Forward, speaking truth. He paid with his life, as Mao's face hardened and the room froze. Ye Jianying was present but didn't join Peng's defense or the attack. He stood still, expressionless, voice quiet. In dictatorships, neutrality is rare, but Yi made it look like discipline. During the early Cultural Revolution in 1966-67, chaos erupted. The PLA was thrown into disarray as Red Guards attacked everything. Generals were humiliated, old comrades forced to bow to teenagers. But Ye Jianying didn't confront radicals or argue with Jiang Qing's crusade. Instead, he positioned himself beside Zhou Enlai, trying to maintain order. While Jiang Qing pushed violence and the Gang of Four demanded loyalty tests, Yi quietly protected officers targeted for purge and moved families. He intervened just enough to keep the PLA from collapsing. His actions were never loud, never public, never traceable. Among Mao's circle, a phrase emerged: Ye Jianying has no faction. This was true, at least on the surface. He lacked an army, ideology, or cult of personality. He possessed patience, precision, and silence. While radicals shouted into power, Ye Jianying walked through the fire unscathed. He understood that speaking could kill you, while silence could save you. By 1966, China was torn apart by the Cultural Revolution. Slogans turned to blood, books burned, generals were dragged through streets. Senior leaders like Luo Ruiqing and He Long fell one by one. Even President Liu Shaoqi became a prisoner dying alone. Mao was remaking the country by destroying those who built it. And in the center of this storm stood Ye Jianying, silent, watching, calculating. Jiang Qing and radicals targeted anyone with military prestige. They saw PLA marshals as obstacles to Mao's new revolution. Ye Jianying was high on their list. Red Guards stormed compounds, demanding the blood of commanders. But when they reached Ye's residence, something unexpected happened. The guards refused to touch him, not out of loyalty but out of deeper fear. Ye Jianying was not a man to be humiliated lightly. Even Jiangqi knew he held PLA influence she couldn't control. So they harassed him, denounced him, accused him of bourgeois habits. But they never dared to break him. Zhou Enlai fought a quiet war to keep China's government functioning. Ye Jianying became his silent partner, making precise interventions. He reassigned radical officers to prevent them from seizing commands. He ensured logistics routes remained open when blocked by Red Guards. He protected families of targeted officials by moving them into military zones. He supported Zhou in forming committees to prevent PLA collapse. Historians agree on one crucial point. Without Yi and Zhou, the army would have fragmented, risking civil war. Jiang Qing tried to provoke Ye Jianying. She insulted him, calling him soft and unrevolutionary. Ye Jianying didn't respond, using his calm, battle-tested expression. He understood her weapon was chaos and refused her desired reaction. By 1969, major figures like Peng Dehuai and Liu Shaoqi were dead. Only Zhou Enlai and Ye Jianying remained untouched. He aided Zhou in establishing revolutionary groups that halted a complete PLA breakdown. Scholars generally concur on a single point. The military would have broken apart, leading to civil conflict in China, were it not for Yi and Zhou. Jiang Qing attempted to provoke Ye Jianying. During gatherings, she disparaged him, labeling him weak, aged, and lacking revolutionary spirit. Ye Jianying remained silent. He regarded her with that familiar tranquil look, the one he employed during conflicts, purges, and any time silence proved less perilous than speaking. He recognized her tactic of sowing disorder and chose not to provide the response she craved. By the year 1969, nearly every prominent revolutionary figure, Peng Dehuai, Liu Shaoqi, Heilong, Tao Zhu, had either perished or faced ruin. Just two individuals remained unscathed, Zhou Enlai and Ye Jianying. Not due to Mao's confidence, but because they knew the principle that kept them safe. A dictator can suppress ambition, yet they cannot eliminate silence. While China was caught in chaos, Ye Jianying remained patient, waiting and waiting for that specific time he anticipated, the moment Mao's strength waned sufficiently for the extremists to be stopped. In 1975, Mao Zedong was still greatly feared, though no longer seen as invincible. His speech became unclear. He struggled to breathe. His hands began to shake. His authority was diminishing and transferring to the hidden figures around him. Everyone within Zongnanhai sensed this shift. All were preparing for what was about to occur. In autocratic regimes, a leader's decline doesn't usher in peace. It introduces conflict. Jiang Qing and her associates, the hardliners who exploited the Cultural Revolution, viewed Mao's declining health as their opportune moment. They controlled the media messaging. They dictated the prevailing ideology. They commanded the public demonstrations. Now, they desired control of the government. They targeted Deng Xiaoping, labeling him as China's Khrushchev. They went after anyone who supported him. This included military commanders, government ministers, and even Zhou Enlai's supporters. However, there was one individual they were hesitant to confront directly. Ye Jianying possessed no public following or vocal platform, but he held what they dreaded, the military's respect. In January 1976, Zhou Enlai passed away. China grieved deeply, while the radicals rejoiced. They destroyed memorial wreaths, dismantled tributes, and denounced public mourning as an act of opposition. Ye Jianying observed this silently, noting the intense animosity Jiang Qing held towards anyone the populace admired more than Mao. Zhou's passing created a significant power void, and he moved subtly closer to its center. Mao selected a new leader, a figure of compromise named Hua Guofeng. He was known for being quiet, cautious, and loyal to Mao, but he was not affiliated with Jiang Qing's faction. The radical faction underestimated him, but Ye Jianying did not. Ye then started holding private meetings with Hua. These were hushed discussions leading to a gradual alliance. Both men understood that post-Mao China required more than just ideological direction. It urgently needed stability. The year 1976 became characterized by discreet phone calls, clandestine pacts, and hushed negotiations. Yi reached out to Wang Dongxing, the head of Mao's personal security detail, key PLA generals who were weary of the radicals' influence, Hua Guofeng, who required military support for his plans, and veteran officials who had endured the Cultural Revolution. There were no public declarations or manifestos, only meticulous planning, preparation, and unwavering patience. Ye Jianying foresaw that the radical group would act the moment Mao died, and he recognized that any indecision would once again jeopardize China. Consequently, he prepared a strategy the radicals had never conceived of: a swift, discreet, and precise takeover. By the middle of 1976, Mao could barely stand. He feared the radicals and worried about betrayal, as well as the disorder he had initiated. Ye Jianying paid him a visit, appearing deferential and composed, with an impassive demeanor, the archetypal marshal. However, Yi was not there seeking Mao's counsel. His purpose was to secure confirmation. The authoritarian regime was weakening, and the leadership position was becoming vacant, and he intended to be the one to determine the next occupant. On September 9, 1976, shortly after midnight, Mao Zedong ceased to breathe. There were no dramatic events or final pronouncements, just a quiet conclusion to a man who had governed through turmoil, fear, and destruction. In the hushed darkness of Zongnanhai, the news spread like a quiet word, a word carrying more peril than any loud outcry. This was because the instant Mao passed, China transformed into an unseen battleground. Jiang Qing and her faction had been planning for this precise moment for years. They envisioned seizing authority, controlling the Communist Party, taking over the military, and completing what the Cultural Revolution had begun. They believed Mao's death signaled the start of their reign. They were mistaken, but they were not yet aware of it. Hua Guofeng, Mao's designated successor, presented a calm, sorrowful, and devoted facade. Publicly, he paid respects before Mao's portrait. Privately, however, he moved swiftly, solidifying his control over the Central Committee, securing the party's official seals, and consulting solely with one individual, Marshal Ye Jianying. While the nation mourned, Ye Jianying meticulously observed every development. He noted who spoke discreetly with whom, who attempted to influence the propaganda ministry, who sought to shape the funeral arrangements, and which military units were contacted. He was certain the radicals would make their move. He also knew they were unprepared for his actions. He did not raise his voice. He did not reveal his strategy. He simply waited for their first misstep. Within Zongnanhai, the radical faction urgently sought to gain command of crucial positions: propaganda, security, party communication, and mass organizations. Jiang Qing insisted on controlling Mao's historical narrative. Jiang Chunqiao devised a plan to seize the People's Liberation Army's command structure. Wang Hongwen attempted to rally younger supporters of the radical movement. Yao Wenyuan drafted official statements blaming capitalist elements for Mao's demise. Yet, none of them grasped the reality. They were already encircled, military leaders who had survived. The Cultural Revolution did not place their trust in the Gang of Four. They did not believe in Jiang Qing's righteousness or Zhang Chunqiao's ideology. Their allegiance was with one man, Ye Jianying. He did not need to issue commands. His mere presence provided the necessary stability for the military. When Mao died, the army did not shift its loyalty towards the radicals. Instead, it gravitated towards Yi. In authoritarian systems, a leader's passing is not a conclusion. It serves as a catalyst, and on the night Mao died, two potential futures stood in opposition. One involved the radical faction taking control of China, plunging it into another 10 years of severe oppression. And the other involved Ye Jianying making the decisive move first, with quiet action, with firm resolution. Ultimately, on October 6, 1976, this marked the most significant night in contemporary Chinese history. And remarkably, almost no sound was heard. For several weeks following Mao's death, the Gang of Four intensified their efforts. Jiang Qing demanded full control over the media outlets. Jiang Chunxiao worked diligently to secure the party secretariat. Wang Hongwen contacted military units that remained loyal to the Cultural Revolution's principles. Yao Wenyuan drafted scathing critiques targeting Hua Guofeng and Deng Xiaoping. They were convinced that power was finally within their grasp, failing to notice the trap closing around them. Ye Jianying possessed three key advantages: the military's backing, Hua Guofeng's confidence, and unwavering composure. He never issued threats to the radicals, nor did he warn them or engage in arguments. He simply observed, waiting for the opportune moment. That afternoon, Hua Guofeng extended invitations to Zhang Chunxiao and Wang Hongwen for a brief meeting at the Great Hall of the People. They arrived unsuspecting, at ease, and confident, still envisioning themselves as successors to Mao's revolution. They took their seats, the doors were closed, and then Ye Jianying entered. There were no speeches or prior warnings, only a single command. Security forces, comprised not of Red Guards or radical youths, but elite PLA units chosen for their absolute loyalty to Yi, swiftly entered the room. Zhang Chunxiao and Wang Hongwen were apprehended within seconds. There was no resistance, no violence, and no public spectacle. The era of upheaval began with unruly crowds. Discipline brought it to a close thanks to Yi. Simultaneously, Jiang Qing was taken into custody at her Zongnanhai dwelling. Yao Wenyuan was apprehended from his workplace. Their associates were isolated from all contact. Every channel for state messaging was shut down. Ye Jianying operated like a skilled surgeon. He was exact, efficient, and discreet. Not a single shot was discharged without any loss of life. Not a moment of disorder occurred. Following a decade marked by conflict, China's ordeal concluded peacefully overnight, orchestrated by Ye Jianying's careful planning. The following dawn, a radio announcement greeted China. The criminal cabal of four has been dismantled. Throngs flooded the thoroughfares, not with dread, but relief. Individuals openly shed tears. Some let out cheers. Certain people burned effigies of Jiang Qing. Others simply stood still, lost in thought, as if a heavy burden they had borne for 10 years had been lifted. That evening, Ye Jianying did not partake in any celebrations. He did not claim any accolades. He did not engage with the press. He remained in his study, composed as ever, and conveyed a single statement to Hua Guofeng. The mission is complete. Within a regime that thrived on loud commands, Ye Jianying achieved victory through quiet action. Following the apprehension of the infamous Gang of Four, China finally took a breath after a decade. Yet, the man credited with saving the nation did not appear on any balconies, did not proclaim triumph, and sought neither devotion nor applause. Ye Jianying retreated from public view, much like he managed to survive Mao's turbulent era. In the months subsequent to the successful operation, Yi assumed the role of party vice chairman, becoming one of China's most influential figures. However, he wielded that authority not for personal gain, but to mend the damage inflicted by Mao and the extremist elements. He initiated the process of restoring the reputations of military leaders who were victimized during the Cultural Revolution. Scientists who were branded as dissidents, educators who faced physical abuse from Red Guards, and families fractured by political unrest. Historical accounts indicate Ye's firm assertion: those who suffered injustice must have their honor reinstated, a subtle yet powerful repudiation of the decade of brutality he witnessed. For China to progress, a leader was needed to revitalize the economy, the educational system, and the nation itself. Ye recognized only one individual capable of this monumental task: Deng Xiaoping. Having been removed twice and then reinstated twice, he lent his support to Deng's return, shielding him from staunch opposition, and paved the way for the pivotal reforms that would propel China into becoming a global powerhouse. This represented Ye's ultimate contribution to the country, not merely ending the Cultural Revolution, but ensuring its destructive ideology could never resurface. While the nation celebrated the downfall of the radical faction, he maintained his characteristic composure, prudence, and disinterest in fame. He never proclaimed himself the party's savior, never sought public monuments, and never authored autobiographies to glorify his own achievements. When questioned about the 1976 operation, his response was simple: "We performed the necessary actions." This reflected his inherent nature to act with precision and communicate minimally. Ye Jianying passed away in 1986 at the age of 89, recognized as a marshal, a statesman, and a survivor of every severe trial Mao instigated. China acknowledged him as the architect of peace, a title he never claimed but undeniably merited. In authoritarian states, the most vociferous voices frequently inflict the greatest harm. Ye Jianying demonstrated the inverse to be true. Sometimes, the most understated individual possesses the most potent influence. He weathered Mao's purges, overcame the radical elements, and concluded the Cultural Revolution not through grand pronouncements, but with quiet resolve and meticulous execution. He was not a conventional hero. There were no grand speeches, no public gatherings, no fabricated personal legend. Yet, history remembers him for a singular reason. When China was consumed by widespread irrationality, Ye Jianying was the individual who maintained his composure long enough to guide it back to stability.